Hello guys, my name is Lakshmi Baba. I am a backend developer, mostly the PHP developer, and most recently I started working on some JavaScript projects as well. I like Vue.js and I like Node.js, Express.js, and things like that. So the topic of the today's discussion is about how to handle the bugs effectively. So as we know that the bugs are part and parcel of our programming career, and we face with the bugs almost daily, and I guess it's art of handling the bugs that makes you a good programmer, and as soon as you not as soon as I would say like as you do the coding and get the experience, you will get better at bug fixing. But you should definitely put the effort to learn how to solve the programming bugs, and then how to come up with the ideas that solve those bugs or problem, I guess, right? Okay, so the first rule, I was just writing an article on dev.to, and I thought I would start speaking about the subject, and then I would write that article as well. So the first rule I'm going to speak about is always have a plan. Actually, I got that point from a pretty good book that's called Think Like a Programmer. Yeah, so it's pretty good book. I would show you on the Google as well. If you got a time to read that, yeah, that one. So if you got the time to read that, you should definitely read that book. It's mostly about coming up with the algorithms and coming up with the ideas to solve any definite program, any definite problem, I mean, right? So yeah, so you should definitely read that book. And golden rule I learned from that book is called always have a plan. And that means that basically if you whenever you are developing any solution, or you are developing uh, any method, or you're coming trying to come up with some coding solution to get some, I mean to say, like when you're trying to write a program that solves some problem, so you shouldn't just dive into coding and then start writing the program and solve the problem, but you should definitely make a plan and work according to that plan. And you should define pretty small steps, and um, as you solve those steps, you should progress to the next step, and you should work definitely step by step, right? And yeah, so that's most important rule, I guess. That's called always have a plan, right? And it applies to the bug fixing as well, and also with the when you are developing any new solution. Yeah, so the next thing is I would say it says always look for a reason. So when you are bug fixing, most commonly you don't know where the bug is coming from, and where there is problem. So it's better to put some effort to find where there is problem, what's the root cause of that problem. And yeah, so you should definitely put some effort to find where is the problem coming from. And more often we would work on a project, or on some method where the code flows from one point to another, and there are many files, many methods, many classes in between, and the problem may be from any of those method or any of those classes, right? Guess, right? So you should test everything in your program, and try to make sure each step is working according to like as is expected to work, right? So you should first confirm with the each step, and then try to find the problem, and then you can look for the solution, of course, right? So then third step, I would say always use some debugging tool. So if you're programming in PHP like I am doing, I like to use Xdebug. Xdebug is like debugging tool, and let me show it to you. So it's like PHP extension. Uh, when when program is compiled, like as you know, like the PHP, all the programming languages are like compiled, or I mean to say they are read from top to bottom, and they would finally be converted to the binary code, right? And as the program passes from one line to the next line and then next line, the values of the variables, the value of the functions, these things always change. So when you use Xdebug or the debugging tool like that, it will tell you what's the output or what's the result of that line, and then you can move to the next line, and then it would give you all the programming output just step by step, and then you can define the breakpoint as well, and then you can see how your program is being compiled, and what's this actually doing behind the scenes. So yeah, so recently I was working on a pretty big project. I recently joined a web development company, and where I started working on a pretty big project, and it's like ERP system. And the existing team was working on that project for almost like 5 years, and and the team members want me to solve the existing problem, and yeah, so like for me to know how the code is working, and how the code is behaving on each step, I definitely needed to use some debugging tool. As I was using debugging tool, I could say and read the code pretty effectively. I could see like what's the output of each step, and I could just put the breakpoints and see how the code is behaving, and it will help me a lot to read the program or read the project, right? So yeah, so it will take a little bit little effort at starting, to set up the Xdebug and the things like that, but it's definitely worth it, and you should definitely use the debugging tool like that. Yeah, so the next step is about typecasting. In the PHP, we don't use typecasting. We don't do it pretty often. uh, until like PHP 5, there was not strong support for the typecasting, but with the introduction of PHP 7, is there are a lot of features for typecasting, and you can define the type of or the data type of a variable, and then like here we define boolean data type to the decision variable, and value that can be defined to that variable is maybe either false or true. But if we try to define the value like string, or maybe just string to make it more clear, it will just throw the error right away. and that way you know that you are making a problem, and your code gonna create a problem. So yeah, so use those data types and typecasting. That'll definitely gonna help you. So the next tip and next step is all about the interfaces. I learned that pretty lately. I used to not use interfaces. I thought they are just useless. Like they're just unnecessary. We don't need interfaces. I thought why somebody would put effort to create the interfaces, and then they're not, after all they are not helping to make any output to the program. So I used to not use interfaces, but recently I learned that program is more about bug handling, and you would spend less time writing the new code, but you would spend a lot of time, believe me, a lot of time uh, dealing with the existing code and then adding the new features and editing the existing program. So you should definitely make sure that your code that you are writing is up to the standards, and whenever someone try to uh, make any mistake, it would warn that user right away, and so that he knows where is that problem, right? So yeah, definitely use that interfaces. And yeah, so now I'm going to write that article, and you can read that article, and put down your comments. I'm gonna try to answer all of your queries. Thank you. Have a good day, man. Thank you.